Okay, what's up everybody? We are here with our last week of training with Bronco. So we're going to give a quick demonstration of the benchmarks that we have for a board and train dog. I'll discuss them real quick and then I'll demonstrate them. We're looking for the dog to be able to gesture with a hand signal to a sit and a down. We're still expecting that the dog would lure into a basic heel position and that the dog has a place command where the dog can go to a place and sit, stand, or down and stay there while we walk away. We also want the dog to hold in a sit when I walk away, at least to the end of the leash, or 6 to 10 feet. And we also want the dog to be able to do that in a down position. So these are our benchmarks. We were trying to create the foundation for a dog to understand what its expectations are in obedience before we hand the dog off to the owner. We don't believe that giving you a dog that understands how to work with us really well is just going to be handed right over to the new owner, and like turning on an engine, you turn the key and the dog just does everything you want. So with our board and train program, we're looking to establish some benchmarks that would be sitting, downing from a gesture. So that would be a hand signal. No verbal commands are required at this point, but we can add them in, and a lure or a large lure or a large gesture to the basic heel position. We're also looking for the dog to get onto an object such as a training platform and sit and down and hold there until we release it. We're also asking the dog to hold on that platform for 10 to 15 feet, along with sitting and downing in place without a platform and staying there for a food bowl and or 6 to 10 feet away, at minimum the length of the leash. Again, we're just creating a foundation for the dog that when it gets into these basic behaviors, it has a really good understanding of what it's expected to do. So we start off every training session with a couple games, and so we like to do a food toss recall game. Bronco? Yes. Bronco? Yes. Bronco? Yes. Okay, and then now that we see that he's willing to work, we'll just go ahead and show you what his behaviors look like. So sit, a hand signal with a lure / gesture. When the dog gets into the sit, it has to stay there, continue looking at us until we release it, okay? Same thing with the down position, lure / gesture to the down. Bronco, down. Yes. Okay, so this is the sit. We want it to be upright and square. Same thing with the down. We want it to be down, forward facing and square, waiting there until we release it. Okay, and that basic heel position, we're not quite to a gesture to this one, but we're very specific about the behavior. We want the dog perfectly sitting by our side. So we're going to step back with our left leg, our left hand, bring him around. When he gets into that sit, we'll say yes, and then we'll feed him. Part of the requirements again is that he looks at us, not our hand. So I'll wait for him to look in my eyes. Okay, and then I release him. Right? So another requirement that we're looking for is that the dog holds in these behaviors for 60 seconds on a variable rate of reinforcement, which is pretty simple, a reward that is given to the dog on some type of variable reinforcement schedule. So it's not predictable by the dog. Sit, yes. Okay, so I'll describe the variable rate of reinforcement as I'm talking. Good. So he doesn't know when I'm going to get it. All he knows that if I just continue working, I'll get it. And so when 60 seconds passes, we'll release him. But our expectation, again, is he holds in this sit position when and where we told him to do it, not to be released until I give him his release marker. Good. He should also continue paying attention to me. He doesn't have to stare intently into my eyes, but he shouldn't be staring at somebody else in front of him. Okay, so that's somewhere around 45, 60 seconds. Again, his permission to be released is looking at me in the eyes. Okay, and so I'll release him there. Same thing with the down. We're looking for a lure / gesture to the down position. We'll add that verbal command. That's funny. We'll add our down command into it, but he doesn't have to respond to just the word. We're still expecting at young age, 5 months old, to be lured / gestured into this position. Okay, okay. So let me start him from the beginning. Come here, Bronco. Down. Yes. Okay, so if he rolls his hips over, it's not that big of a deal, but we do like to see that the dog stays in this position. So the flooring has a little bit to do with that. Sometimes his drive or his motivation for the food, and then good. Sometimes it's the reward history in the hips being rolled over. So I'm only going to reward him if his hips are square. So we're looking for that perfect, we're looking for that perfect image as he holds in that position. Again, on a variable schedule, I don't have to reward him every 3 seconds. I could be rewarding him every 15 seconds, 1 second, and then oscillating back and forth between different reward intervals. No. If he gets up early, we just tell him no, put him back down, withhold the food, negatively punishing him. Okay, and then release him. Same thing with the basic heel position. You should be able to at least lure to this position and hold there for 60 seconds. So I'll show you what that looks like. Bronco. Yes. Good. So for him, the reinforcement schedule is a little bit faster than normal. Good. He wants to leave this position a little bit more. He's a little less settled in it, whereas the down, he holds pretty well. Good. So I'm still on what we would call a scheduled rate of reinforcement. Good. Where it's a little bit more predictable. Okay. And then I can show him my hand out to the side, making sure that he physically leaves this position. Okay, now for the place command. Place command again for us is to get onto something that's elevated. We like using training platforms for this. The reason behind a training platform versus a dog bed is that it keeps the dog in that nice square position that we like for the sit and the down. If we ask the dog to do a down on a bed or a soft fluffy bed, they tend to get a little lazy. They roll the hips over, and we're not asking the dog to perform obedience in that fashion. We want the dog to stay in that perfect position even if they're on a place command. If somebody had a bed as a resting place for the dog, that's completely different. But for us, place to sit there and stay until I release you, maintaining that good posture for obedience. Okay, so one of the elements we're looking for from the platform is that I could direct him towards something that's elevated. He gets onto it, yes. If he defaults to a sit, that's not a big deal. We prefer that the dog stands, but he's feeling like how close can I get to the edge of this piece of equipment and get my food quickly as possible. So it happens to be for the sit for him. Again, he has to stay there until I release him. His release marker, again, is okay. I don't have to tell him to stay. Stay is implied in the way we trained him. If I want to continue his behavior, I'm going to reinforce it through the word good, and then he will get another piece of food. Okay, so we'll do that again. So I'll say the word to get him to go there. So I'm going to say place, and then he goes there. Yes. When he turns around and looks at me, I mark and then follow it with a reward. Okay. Last one, place, place. Yes. All right, and so as we said, the stay is implied. So technically, when I put him into a sit, I don't have to say stay, I can just walk away. So we'll put him into a sit. I can say yes, or I can say good. Essentially, what I want him to know is that, hey, I made a good choice. Maybe I had to work a little bit longer. I didn't get my reward right away, but I should stay there until I release you, or I'm released. So again, sit and stay until I say his release marker. No matter where I go on this spectrum of, let's say, between 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock, he should stay there. No matter what I do, he should stay. Good. 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 Okay. All right, so the same thing applies to the down position. Bronco, we're going to put him in the down before he has a chance to sit. Yes. Okay, so I just gave him this really big gesture to get to the down, which was my hand and my body leaning over him. So again, I just walked away from him. I didn't say stay. His stay is implied. Good. And if I want him to continue performing behavior, I'm going to mark him with the word good and then come in to reinforce him. Something to note here, as I go out and away from him, I don't want to get in the habit of releasing him when I walk away. Good. I want to vary the distance and duration and location at which I'm going to release him. Good. If I always release him at the same place and the same time, he's going to learn to predict that. Dogs are really good at predicting patterns, so we don't want to release him at the same spot every single time because he'll start predicting the release and break early. Good. Okay. Good boy. All right. So he should be able to do the same thing without the platform, just not quite the same distance. Same philosophy here. Gets into a sit, down, or heel position and stays there until I release you. So we'll start with the sit. Come here, buddy. Sit. Yes. And then pay him. He has to stay there until I say his release marker. So he should be able to just stay there when I walk away. Good. Knowing that I'm not going to release him until he gets his marker. Good. So again, our standard is 6 to 8 feet, maybe 10 feet, or the end of the leash. Good. and not follow me. Good. Okay, same standard for the down. So we'll get him into the down. Yes. And he has to stay there until I release him. Still staying nice and square. He can leave it. He saw some dirt on the ground and thinks it's food. He has to stay there until I release him. As you can see, he broke early. I could have said no, but he was getting up for a piece of food, so I chose the word leave it instead. Good. 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 Okay. Okay, sitting and staying for a food bowl is pretty important. Teaching from a platform for staying for the food bowl, it just expedites the learning process. So he should stay. If I put an empty food bowl down, sit. Yes. Until I release him. So we'll get 8 to 10 feet away from him, and he should sit and stay for that one. If I, no. Good boy. So no means you're wrong. Go back to where you were last, and he performed that perfectly for me. Good. I'll go ahead and reinforce that one. And just to prove that he can refuse food, I'll put some food in there, and he stays there. He should still be able to maintain his composure for the sound of food going in a bowl. So if I put food in the bowl, he should stay right there. If I put the food bowl down, good, he should stay there as well. Okay, and not go until I release him. Okay, good boy.